The city and the county, and with a little bit of help from the city, decided to throw a 120th birthday of the opening of the courthouse, which is next weekend, happens to fall right at the very time that they opened the courthouse 120 years ago. The official date was August the 22nd, 1895.
Really?
Yes. So they're having a celebration, and they've asked me to participate. They're doing lots of things, but what I'm doing for them is holding a historic nighttime, a little bit darker tour of the courthouse at 9 o'clock Friday evening. That's the 21st.
Okay.
Actually, the celebration starts Friday evening and then continues all the way through Saturday.
So darker. So there'll still be some lights on.
Oh yes, yeah. I hope I won't be. I think we're going to start
hide and seek.
Yeah, we're going to start up in the courtroom there. And one thing, there are some tours that are going to be conducted, I guess. I don't know Friday. You'll need to check your calendar. Friday, I know Saturday, of just general tours of the courthouse itself and talking about the renovation. But that's not what this is. This is a special tour that takes reservations that's going to be started in the courtroom, upstairs courtroom, and we're going to talk about some historic events that happened over the history of the courthouse and maybe some darker things, and maybe we might conjure up a ghost or two. Don't know. So anyway, but we're real excited. It's $20 reservation, limited to 30 people. So you need to get your reservations in. You need to call Adam Tier at the Civic Center. Okay. And isn't that 885-8071?
I believe it is 8071.
8071. You can call and leave me a message at the City National Bank, 885-7523, if you'd like. But Adam's taking those reservations.
So are you telling me that only 30 people can go on this?
Yes, on this tour, yes. Sure. But, and the reason for that, Anola, is you get too many people and they can't hear me. We can't move through areas very well. It's much like when I do my tours downtown. That's why I do two of them a lot, or when we do our nighttime tours in conjunction with some local restaurants. We just want to make it a really good experience for those people that are attending and that have paid, so we try not to overdo the crowd. And they just asked me to do one tour and at 9 o'clock, so that's why they're limited. So sometimes in Sulphur Springs, I understand we're all really busy people, but we kind of lag sometimes on making reservations.
Last-minuters?
Yes, and so I'm sorry, but that's not going to work if we wait to the very last minute on this one, because I feel like it'll fill up pretty quickly.
Well, I want us to come back and remind people about this and the limited to 30 and what you're going to see on that tour. But I also want to ask you some things about the courthouse.
Please.
For example, here's what I want to know. If the first courthouse was at Tarrant, was it then called Old Tarrant, or we just started later?
No, that's what we refer to it as now.
And then it moved to Sulphur Springs, and then another one was built. Mm-hmm. So maybe there were 3 other county seats before the lovely courthouse we have now.
Yes, there were 3. Well, okay, here's how it happened. There was one built at Tarrant that was actually disassembled, and some of the lumber was brought to Sulphur Springs and used for other purposes, not a courthouse. Okay. When the county seat actually moved to Sulphur Springs in 1870, right after Reconstruction, and when the Union soldiers came here and they moved the county seat to Sulphur Springs for conducting business, and it was just in temporary headquarters. And then when they left, the citizens of Tarrant came and got the records and moved them back to Tarrant. But by that time, the people of Sulphur Springs liked being the county seat. So with some changes of what happened in the legislature, they made Sulphur Springs the permanent county seat. So then they moved back here, but they rented space. They did not build a courthouse until about 1881. They built a stone courthouse that was on the center of the east side of the square, not where the courthouse is now, a little bit south of the courthouse. Beautiful. I've seen pictures of it, and there's a couple of existing photographs. It is the one that burned to the ground in February of 1894. And then they got J. Riley Garden commissioned as the architect, and they designed this Romanesque revival courthouse that we have with the granite and the sandstone, the beautiful courthouse that we have that was finished and moved into in August of 1895. So there's actually been 3 courthouses for Hopkins County, actual structures, but they moved around a lot for about 10 years.
And nothing was as grand as what we have.
Oh, no. The one before was a much smaller, a little bit different design.
Wasn't it awfully fast from the burning to the opening?
Yeah, well, really, if you think about in construction time, that's really true. A year and a half. I mean, but of course, I guess the citizens were very used to having a courthouse. It was in the 1890s, pretty prosperous time, and they felt like they needed to rebuild their courthouse that burned down. And luckily, there had been a vault purchased before that, so all the records were saved. So they were able to store the records. So they then again rented space for that year and a half until they got the new courthouse built. And now it's 120 years later, and we're still using it as a living courthouse.
So at $75,000, it cost to build it, $7 million to restore it.
Yes, was it $7 million? I couldn't remember. Isn't that unreal?
I think like $3.5 million from the state with the matching.
Yeah, right.
So now what I want to ask you is, where did Little Pete the Mule come in on the building?
Little Pete the Mule helped do some of it. Once they got they had to bring the stone. The stone came from Burnett, Texas, and another place down in Central Texas. So they brought that stone on railroads, got it to the railroads, had it moved to the square, and Pete helped drag some of these stones as they were building the courthouse, and was very well known on the square as they were building the courthouse. That's Pete.
I love that story.
Oh, I do too. And I'm glad you reminded me of it. I hadn't thought about it in my gathering of research.
Well, I want you to tell me before you leave the station this morning where a person might find, something written about Pete the Mule.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, well, all right. So that brings us to Friday, Saturday, August, the 21st
next
and
weekend.
22nd.
Not this weekend, but the very next weekend.
And your part, everybody's part in that celebration.
Yes, it's going to be wonderful. They're showing the Alamo movie on the square Friday night also, and they're doing the regular tours, and they're having all kinds of celebrations. Some music is going to be going on, and like I said, it basically it's been published now what the calendar events is, but the particular one that I'm representing is the 9 o'clock nighttime tour on Friday evening, August the 21st. Please get your reservations in for that tour. It's going to be, I've never really done one. Sometimes my regular morning tours, I have started in the courthouse and talked a little bit about the courthouse, but this is going to be more exclusively about the history of the courthouse. I'll even talk about some of the previous courthouses, but we're going to talk about the building and some events that happen in there. There's been some shootings at our courthouse. There's been people that have died in the courtroom. So there's some interesting stories. Been some very statewide dignitaries that have been sworn in our courtroom to serve a statewide office. One of them I happen to be a little bit related to. That's a good story about what happened. And so anyway, I've just got a lot of things to share with everyone.
That's going to be great. So be one of those 30 people that get in on that tour, and call Adam Tier out at the Civic Center, 885-8071.
Yes, thank you.